Alright, Ellie, this is your video. All I wanted to show was that basically a song, Carol of the Bells, which is very simple, like this. Shit. Just basically that. All I did really is I tried to break down the song down to the fundamental notes that I thought constituted it, so to speak. So this whole sequence here, most important notes in that I thought were G, D sharp, C, A sharp, and then G. So that's kind of what, if I could play around with that, I could make something to incorporate potentially into something that I would make up on my own. So I kind of came up with this whole sequence of chords, more or less, not really chords, but just little notes that kind of have a somber feel to them, and just making chords out of those. Basically that fundamental 8-step sequence of starting with A sharp and C, which are the two notes in the, and then just kind of going down step by step. And then using that, kind of doing something like that, where all I did was add a D to either side, which is kind of just a chord in and of itself to make it sound more full. And that, playing that alongside something like this, since it's in the same ballpark, it's in that G is part of it. I can kind of, can't play at the same time, but I can kind of incorporate it at the start of this whole thing, or I can just kind of put it anywhere, because this whole thing fits into any part that's any part of Carol of the Bells, because Carol of the Bells basically always uses A sharp and G somewhere in its whole melody. It uses A sharp here, A sharp here, and then again right here, whatever, and then again during this sequence as well. So kind of staying somewhere in there. Oh, I fucked that up. I think this is A. Yeah. So A, so it starts off with D, a D chord here, and D chord again, and we're just going from here to here, and then this whole going over to C, and then over here to A and D and F, and then what is it again? I always forget. Yeah, C, and then I'm going to G, and I'm going over here on this part, right, making a chord there, and then I think this is still G. Yeah, so I can kind of something like that, where I can kind of just use this little to make up my own nonsense. And this is really, really simple. It's a really simple just execution of that idea, and I wish I could play both at the same time. But the idea is to kind of use it in conjunction, because the idea of Carol of the Bells is that your left hand, I think it's as written, whoops, it's something like that, to where you're basically playing something on that first note of the little melody, and it would be the same thing for here. instead of just playing a simple little, right, that's kind of boring, just adding more to it. It's starting as a G, but just kind of adding even something as simple as another note to it that stays in the same range adds, in my opinion, just something more to it. And so we can kind of, that's just a little messing around, but that's the basic idea, is just kind of breaking down. I know that A sharp, G, D sharp, I know that those all notes, mostly wherever I put them relative to anywhere else in the song, it should kind of come together. And I wish I could play at the same time, but I don't know how to hold a phone and play at the same time. So I'll figure that out. But that's the general idea. I hope it makes sense.